Okay, it's very similar to the previous video, finding the midpoint of a line for GCSE Maths. Again, you can use this formula here, where the midpoint, this generates the x coordinate, this generates the y coordinate. So let's take a wee look then at that. As ever, we need to assign one of them to be 1 and one of them to be 2. So I'm going to call this one coordinate 1, and then 5 minus 10 I'm going to call coordinate 2. So our midpoint, x1 plus x2 minus 3 plus 5 all over 2, and then y1 plus y2 is 6 plus minus 10 all over 2. So my midpoint equals minus 3 plus 5 gives me 2, so 2 over 2 is 1. 6 plus minus 10 gives me minus 4 divided by 2, then is minus 2. Again, there's a couple of different ways of doing it. Let's see if we can kind of get this. So 5 across minus 10, minus 3, 6. And if I do a wee diagram here, and you don't have to do it this way, it's just to try and make some sense out of it. Minus 3, 6 is up here. And then 5 minus 10 is all the way down here. Quite a tough one actually to see. But you're effectively looking for halfway in between these. If you look at the x coordinates, it's minus 3 all the way across to 5. Do you see what's happening there? So you're looking for the midpoint. So the midpoint's going to be halfway along here. So it's minus 3 all the way to 5. That's a gap of 8 between minus 3 and 5. And so halfway along 8 is 4. So if you go 4 across here, you'll end up with the coordinate 1. That's where that's coming from. Same here, 6 and minus 10. That's 16. So the gap is 16, so we need to go 8 either way. So you can either go up 8 or you can go down 8 from the 6. So if you go up 8, you end up then with minus 2, and you end up then with that. The other way you can do it by using your common sense again is just looking at the numbers. Halfway in between minus 3 and 5, think about your number line. Between minus 3 and 5, halfway in between is going to be 1. So there's your 1 there. Halfway in between 6 and minus 10. So again, think about your number line going all the way along. There's 6, there's minus 10, gap of 16. And so halfway along there is going to be minus 2. So that's another way of working that one out. Okay. Example 2, slightly tougher one. The midpoint of a line joining A and B has coordinates 3, 4. So they're giving us the midpoint. A has coordinates 5 minus 1. What are the coordinates of B? So we'll use the formula for this one. So the x coordinate of the midpoint, let's go for, so our formula is midpoint equals x1 plus x2 over 2, y1 plus y2 over 2, and our midpoint then, let's call it xm and ym. Sounds a wee bit fancy, but it's just kind of to name them kind of for our formula. So to work out the x coordinate of the missing one, let's call this, so this is the midpoint, let's call this one coordinate 2, and what we're trying to work out then is x2. So for our x1, it's going to be 3, because that's the x coordinate of the midpoint, equals 5 plus x2 over 2. If you times both sides then by 2, you're going to get 6 equals 5 plus x2, and that means x2 then is going to be 1. If you do a similar thing then for the y coordinate, so that's for x, that's for y, so that's going to be 4 equals minus 1 plus y2 all over 2, 8 equals minus 1 plus y2, and that means then y2 is going to equal 9. So that means our coordinate B is going to be 1, 9. That really seems terribly complicated to me. Again, I would vaguely draw the thing out and try and use my common sense. So here's what I would do. I would go to the point 5 minus 1. So there's 5 across minus 1. And then that's 5 and minus 1. And then I go to the point 3, 4. 3 across and 4 up. So that's 3 and 4. And effectively I would keep going. Right, here's what's happening. This is one end of it. This is the center of it. So the rest of it must be up here. So we need to go as far again along. I don't know if that makes any sense. So going from 5 to 3, you're going back 2 for the x coordinates this is. So it's 2 squares along. So we need to go another 2 squares along from 3. So it's going to take us to 1. And going from -1 to 4, that's gone up 5. It's going up 5 squares here. So we're going to go 5 squares here from 4. So that's going to take us to 9. Which gives us our 0.19. Again, any method is fine, whichever one you find easiest. To me, I definitely find this easiest simply because there's a lot of formulas to learn. We just learned this one, the previous video, then you had to learn the formula for the length of the straight line. 2 big formulas to try and learn, whereas if you use your common sense, you can really kind of get away without them. And to me, I think it shows more understanding if you can do it that way.